Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning on Facebook. Good morning on Instagram. Good morning on YouTube or wherever else you're watching me from. Hi, Anne on Facebook. As you guys come in, put a comment, say hi, tell me where you're tuning in from. It's always nice to know where we're all tuning in from. Comment in the box. Let me know where you're tuning from. I'm just going to wait a little, like a minute, to let more people come into the live chat. And for those of you tuning in for the first time, my name is Ayesha Chidole. I'm an immigration attorney based out in Lake Mary, Florida, which is a suburb of Orlando, but I represent clients in all 50 states. We do have a satellite office in Atlanta, but again, we represent clients in all 50 states, so it doesn't really matter where you are. Hi, Anne-Marie from New York. I was just in New York 2 weeks ago. It was so rainy when we're there, and I hear it's now like super hot. It's super hot here in Florida today. It's like, it was 100 degrees yesterday. Hi, Obi from Sacramento, California. I know it's super early there. Okay, guys. So today I have a good topic. Well, I always try to give you guys good topics, but today I have a really good topic for you guys. So today I want to talk about how you can fix or gain your green card status or get a status in the United States without leaving the United States. But before I dig in, I want to explain a few concepts to you guys. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard this word EWI. So it's like EWI. So the word is EWI. We call it EWI, but it just means entry without inspection. So entry without inspection means that you entered into the United States without inspection, meaning you didn't have a visa, you didn't go through an airport, you didn't go through basically customs in any way. So essentially you crossed the border, if you want to, call it that. So that's EWI. And most times when you enter into the United States without inspection, or as they call it, EWI, you don't qualify to gain your green card status without leaving the country. And before you can leave the country, you have to get a waiver, a hardship waiver, and you have to have family members who qualify you to get that hardship waiver to leave. However, there are options if you fall under certain categories. And the category I want to talk about today is VAWA. So VAWA stands for Violence Against Women's Act. So I know the word says Women's Act, but VAWA applies to men, women, they, their, whatever your pronoun is. It applies to any immigrant, meaning you crossed the border, you entered EWI, you overstayed without documentation, basically as a green card holder, that is married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. It also applies to children who are, whose parents are green card holders or U.S. citizens, or stepchildren whose parents are green card holders or U.S. citizens. And it also applies to parents who have children 21 years or above that are U.S. citizens. Okay, so earlier I just talked about how if you came into the country EWI, even if you married somebody and you tried to apply for a green card, you're not going to get it. You're not going to be able to stay here and get it because of how you entered into the country. You entered into the country without inspection or without any kind of papers. But if you qualify for VAWA, there is an automatic forgiveness of that. So it would allow you to process your case, get your work permit, which on average takes about 6 to 8 months, and then you will be able to get a 10-year green card in about 3 years once you get approved for VAWA. Most VAWA cases take 2 years to 2.5 years. So once you get approved, you can file for naturalization, which is basically filing for citizenship after 3 years. And that is how you get to stay here. For those of you tuning in, please feel free to comment and say hi and tell us where you're tuning in from, like what city and state are you in. And as always, I do this live because I want to be able to answer your questions. So ask your questions, ask away, because I see y'all here in my DMs all the time, asking questions. So this is your opportunity to ask, because you might be thinking something, or you might have a question that someone wants to know the answer to, or they're shy to ask, or whatever it is. So you can ask your questions. So let's break down VAWA, a little bit. So I know that I've mentioned who the people that this fits. But one of the things that you need to understand with VAWA is that basically, if you're in these relationships and the person has been extremely cruel to you or abusive to you, you could qualify for this. And sometimes I get people who say, my spouse, or my child, well, they weren't physical, to me, like they didn't hit me or they didn't push me, because our brains or society has made us think that physical violence is the only form of abuse. One of the great things about VAWA is that it is not only physical abuse that is considered abuse. Abuse can be mental. You can have a spouse who abuses you, gaslights you, tries to mess with your mind, right? To the point where you think you're going crazy. Abuse can be physical, psychological, which kind of go hand in hand, the psychological and emotional aspects. They use your kids, as a way to attack you, or say bad things about your children, or make you not want to have a relationship with your children, or tell you, what, you can't send money to your children, give them the money, or make you feel like you're crazy, for wanting to help your children. Abuse can also be financial, right? If you have a spouse who dangles this green card and it's like, well, if you don't help me with this, I'm not going to help with your petition. I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call ICE. I'm going to call USCIS to withdraw that petition, knowing that you're at their mercy. So they use that to manipulate you. So these are different forms of abuse. Abuse can also be, wow, I have so many people. Let me just pause to say hi to everybody. Hi, OB. I think I said hi to you before. Hi, Anne from Maryland. Molly, hi from Tennessee. Macedonia, good morning from Washington State. Bola, good morning from Indiana. Comfort, good morning from Arizona. Patience, I am watching from Maine. Wow, what's the weather like in Maine? I never meet people from Maine most of the time. And then for those of you on Instagram, you're not being neglected. Mo USA, how are you? Hi to everybody else tuning in. And Mark, thank you, Mark, from YouTube, from Tallahassee. So you're right down the corner from us here. So you guys, make sure you're asking your questions in the comment box so that I can answer them when I finish. As I was talking about, abuse can also be intimate. So when I say intimacy or sexual abuse, and sometimes people think sexual abuse has to do with rape, right? But that's not the only way that one can be abused. There are many ways to be abused, where using a mail, for example, where you believe that your spouse is on birth control and your spouse is intentionally trying to maybe get pregnant or get you to impregnate her without your knowledge, right? That is extremely cruel, right? Making a decision that affects a person for the rest of their life without letting them know, And then you have abuse of the legal system, right? You have somebody or telling you, well, it could be two things. Well, I don't really care that you don't have papers. You need to go find a job under the table. You need to work. You need to bring money here. Or telling you that if you go to work, or if you work, I'm gonna call ICE on you. or whatever it is. They don't want you to support themselves, and then you have spouses that are controlling. They try to control you because, they know that if you gain your independence from them, that they will no longer be able to control you. So one of the things that, VAWA does is that it empowers you as a victim of extreme cruelty, where you don't have to rely on that person, to move on with your life. This is a confidential process. You are self-petitioning by yourself. Your spouse never has to know. Your parent never have to know. Your child never have to know. I'm just saying, depending on what category that you fall under, they don't ever have to know. When we submit VAWA petitions, usually there is a safe address. There's a safe address given, right? Most of the time when you come through our firm is your safe address. So any mail you receive, it comes to us, because you hear horror stories all the time about spouses that hold onto the mailbox keys, or seized your other spouse's paperwork or their petition, and things like that, because they don't want them to either get their green card or get their work permit, because they know that if they get their work permit, they'll be able to work. And what does work do? It gives you financial freedom to leave. So a lot of people stay in this relationship because they don't have the financial freedom to leave. So that's why VAWA allows you to work. You get your work permit so you can leave that relationship, right, and depend on yourself instead of your spouse. So that's basically how to fix your green card status, through VAWA without leaving the United States. Again, otherwise, let's say, you and your spouse are married, and, you have a spouse that, you're at their mercy, or whatever it is, and they're like, okay, I'll file for you. But whenever you piss them off, they threaten you that they're going to withdraw it. Even if they try to do it for you, you still have to leave the country to finish the process, because you didn't come into the country documented. And this also applies to those who are married to green card holders. So if you're married to, and I'm seeing all your questions on Facebook, I am going to answer as many of them as I can. So please bring them, keep putting them in here. So in talking about green card holders, if you're married to a green card holder, you also kind of technically are in the same situation as somebody who came into the country undocumented. The reason being because a green card holder would not be considered an immediate relative. And when you're not considered an immediate relative, it means that a green card is not immediately available to you. And in order for you to get it, you have to be in current status, and the visa bulletin has to be in current status. So meaning, if you marry a green card holder and you've overstayed here, you can't adjust your status in America. You have to leave the country unless you qualify based on that person being extremely cruel to you or abusive towards you. Okay. So let's see. Let me start with his wife, Nikki. I applied for renewal of my work authorization for my daughter under VAWA. It's been November, got a receipt number, and mine is about to be renewed. How long does it usually take? So sometimes it can take a long time, but usually your receipt should provide you an extension. If you look on your receipt, you should see that it says that this will act as a temporary extension until they provide your work permit. But if you applied in November, you should probably be getting it about now, so hopefully it should be coming now. It's a little bit long, but hopefully, you should get it sooner rather than later. Okay. So Comfort on Facebook says, good morning. My question is, can someone who brought or processed my visa into the USA have any part to play in terms of applying for my American citizenship after 5 years? I live in the US. I already have permanent residence, but I'm asking if my sponsors would have to sign any document when it's time for me to apply for citizenship. So the answer is no. So if you were sponsored either by your spouse, but the 5 year has passed, you can file for citizenship as yourself. You don't need your spouse, to file for citizenship. You don't need anybody to sign anything. You're standing on your own feet and what you've done here in America. Have you filed your taxes? Have you stayed out of trouble? Are you owing back child support? Things like that. The only time where it's critical that your partner be there is if you got married and came here and you're applying for citizenship within 3 years of that green card application and marriage. At that time, they want your spouse to be there because that is the only way, because you have to show, the continuation of that marriage, so that's the only time that your spouse, so they're not necessarily signing the documentation, but they want to see them and they want to see their presence, right? And that you guys are, living as a, happy married couple. But if yours has been more than 5 years, generally you should be good. So Mark on YouTube says, I want to call you because I'm facing real trouble with my wife. And she said she's not signing my remaining documents, but I have my I-130 approved. But she says she's not going forward with the process. Mark, call us. Let's screen you and see if you qualify to do it by yourself, okay? And our number is 407-995-6567. For those of you on Instagram, this phone number is in our profile. On Facebook and YouTube, you can see it scrolling through the ticker right there, okay? All right, let's see. Let me get my mouse so I can scroll through and see if I have any other questions. So it says, please, what can I do since my I-130 has been approved and my wife doesn't want to go on with the process? She's being in. Mark, we can help you. Call us, okay? So just call us and, we'll talk. You deserve a confidential consultation. You don't want to talk about your, personal business on here. So feel free to call us. Wiesel says, I called and I was told that you can't take my case. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear about that. I mean, I don't know what your case is, and I obviously don't want to discuss your confidential matter here. So you can certainly send a message and I'll read it and see what it is. And it's possible that, maybe I can't take your case depending on what it is. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Patience says, it's a beautiful day. Yes, it is. Patience, where are you tuning in from? Okay, guys, do you have any other questions about VAWA and, how that process works or adjusting your status? Abby almost says, what is your charge for VAWA? I would love to discuss that with you in a consultation because I have to evaluate you. So call me, 407-995-6567, okay? So Sandra, hi. Sandra, she says, good morning. My daughter got a letter to do her fingerprints. She's 16 years old and she has to do an interview. They said her medical has expired, but she got another letter to do her fingerprints. Can you tell me if she has to do an interview? So if she was scheduled for an interview, she has to do an interview. Sometimes they waive interviews. So Sandra, it really depends on what your daughter is petitioning under. Sometimes when a parent files for their children, sometimes they will bypass the interview and send you like a request for additional evidence saying, please mail us the medical exam. If they say, please mail us the medical exam, there's a pretty good chance that your daughter is bypassing the interview and that once the medical exam proves to be good, she'll be fine. I mean, I have the lawn guy outside my window at 11 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, guys, hopefully you can still hear me. So yeah, so if they send her a letter saying she needs to attend an interview, Sandra, make sure she attends the interview, okay? If they send her a letter saying asking her for her medical records, then it's a pretty good chance that she'll be approved without an interview. I hope that answers your questions. Someone says, Wiesel, sure, you can send a message to our inbox, okay? Or put your actual real name in the inbox so that I can find out from my staff what your legal matter is to see if it's something we can assist you with, okay? Kayode Adu says, can I change my address easily with VAWA? No. The answer is no. You cannot change your address easily with VAWA. So let me take at least 1 minute to talk about this. So, you guys remember earlier on, I told you, VAWA is a very confidential process because the idea is to protect you, the immigrant, from your abuser, and so they take confidentiality very seriously. Normally with other petitions, you can go online and, change your address. But with VAWA cases, you can't. You need to complete that form. You need to submit it there. Otherwise, your address is not going to be changed, and it's going to continue to go to, wherever your old address is. Okay. So Instagram, you guys are very quiet today. Ask me some questions, guys. So Binta on YouTube. I love that name, Binta. I remember in elementary school, there was a book that I went to elementary school in Nigeria, West Africa, and there was a book we used to read, Binta, and I don't remember what it was. Binta Goes to School or something like that, but I remember I used to love that name. But anyway, so your question is, my prima facie has been extended another year, which is up next month. What's next for USCIS? So for you, what is going to continue to happen is that they will continue to extend your prima facie determination until they make a decision on your case. So that's really it, but the next thing other than the prima facie is waiting for an approval. And what happens typically is that the first step to approval is you will get a work permit. So, normally if you file an adjustment of status with your VAWA case, you get a work permit within 6 to 8 months. But at the end of your VAWA journey, so in about 2 years from when you applied, you're going to get another work permit, which is a different category. And what that work permit represents is an approval. So a lot of times that work permit approval will come right before the decision. So for you who has your prima facie, what you're looking to see is a work permit approval that you didn't fill out a 765 form for. Once you get that, then your approval is coming in the mail. But otherwise, it will continue to automatically extend your prima facie determination letter. Okay. So Sandra says she didn't schedule to join the interview. They said to me the Marital expanded, send me a letter to do her fingerprints. Sandra, I really don't understand the question. You can call me, this is very easy for you to do. Just call me and I'll look at what they send and then I can advise you. My number is 407-995-6567. I don't want to give you legal advice because, this video is for educational purposes. But if you're in a bind and you need to understand what that letter represents, happy to talk with you once I see the letter so I can advise you what the right thing to do because, this is your daughter. You don't want to make a mistake. You want to do what they're asking you to do. Okay. So Morgan says, I got a message from USCIS that I should wait on my appointment for biometrics from October up until now. I didn't hear from them. Yeah, you probably didn't get a message from them asking you to wait on your biometrics. All you probably got is them saying that we've received your stuff. The next thing is your biometrics. The only way that you would know if you had a biometrics is if you got a letter. So them saying that your stuff is ready to move over to biometrics or it's ready to move over to interview doesn't mean that you're going to get it that day. It just means that that's when the next thing is. So it all really depends on what you petition for, when you petition, or sometimes with the world of COVID right now, sometimes if you're already in the immigration system, they will bypass your biometrics, meaning they will bypass sending it to a center to go do your thing, and they will send you a letter for that. So, I don't want you to make that stress you out because that's just a customary notification. That's once they have everything they need, and this is the next step. But what you should just do is just wait on that biometrics, but that shouldn't stress you out. Okay. Someone says, is it smarter to do a consultation with the new relationship, possible future marriage after a divorce is final or before? So, Shami, do you mean like possible future marriage after divorce is final before? If you're currently, ultimately, it depends on when you are planning to get divorced, when you're planning to remarry, because I'm sure, as you guys know, immigration laws change and go in a cycle of evolution. even now with President Biden, as I'm sure most of you heard, with TPS, where before, like a couple of years ago, you could adjust your status, if you came into the country without inspection with TPS. But as of 2 days, the Monday or so, the rules, basically the Supreme Court unanimously decided no, even if you have TPS, even if you, as long as you enter the country without inspection, you cannot adjust your status. So even in the world of President Biden, there's still very stringent immigration laws that continue to change daily. So my advice is that, well, let me not say my advice, because I'm not giving you legal advice. If it was me, I would wait until I'm actually in a relationship and ready to petition to find out what, is what I'm eligible for at that time. Selder says, can someone still be deported if all their criminal cases have been dropped and they've been released from ICE? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, because at that time, what happens is that they're not being deported based on their criminal stuff. They might be being deported based on their current status. So it just really depends, on what the apprehension or the arrest was for, were they currently in status before that, so all of those things depend. Okay, so Morgan says, I got a letter waiting on my appointment to do my biometrics. So that's probably your filing receipt that you got. So you have to wait for your biometrics letter. Your biometrics letter will specifically state that you have biometrics appointment at this location on this date. So just wait on it. So Kaide says, I filed for a 601A for more than 3 years now, and I'm married since 2013, but I'm not getting any response. But work permit and parole always being renewed, and even traveled abroad. So what can I do next? Tired of waiting. Yeah, Kaide, I understand the frustration. 601A, for those of you who don't know, is basically what I just talked about, where if you enter the country without inspection, or you're married to a green card holder, and you want to file adjustment of status, you cannot adjust your status until you get that 601A waiver approved. Then they will schedule you for an interview appointment in your home country. So that's one of the disadvantages of that, if that is, let's say, your only option. Unfortunately, if you filed and it's been more than 3 years, some of the things that you can try and do is, you can try and do a service inquiry request. You can try and ask for congressional assistance to see if that can help speed up the process. But, 601s take quite a long time, unfortunately. So Abby says, this is a really good question. He or she says, do you need a police report to strengthen your VAWA case? So I will start by saying that VAWA requires any credible evidence. The more evidence you have, the stronger your case is. But let's go back to any credible evidence. Any means that any evidence you have is better than none. USCIS understands that, the cycle of abuse when you're an immigrant makes it as such that it is difficult to report to the police. Why is it difficult? Because most of these immigrants are undocumented. And so there's a fear that if you report to the police, you're the one that's going to end up, being locked up. You're the one that's going to end up being deported. And that is some of the reason why they've created VAWA, right? Because, the abuse and the psychological manipulation of an abuser is that, go ahead, call the cops. After all, I'm the US citizen. Let's see who they're going to believe. And I've seen it in my practice. I've seen clients come to me, tremendously abused, and they got arrested, right? They're facing removal proceedings because they did not have their papers. So in saying that, a police report is not required to file and be approved for a VAWA petition. But if you do have a police report, it is certainly helpful. Just the same way as, if you have a psychological evaluation that where a therapist is evaluating your mental state when all the things are happening, that is helpful as well. Okay. So any evidence you can have is helpful. And while we're on this topic, something I always warn clients about is that sometimes we as human beings, you get very angry at your spouse and what they're doing, and like maybe when you guys separate, you start to delete stuff. I'm going to block them. I'm going to delete all their pictures. I'm going to delete every memory of the person. Please, if you didn't hear it before, hear it from me. If you do not have your green card and you want a chance to petition for VAWA, do not delete those negative memories, those negative text messages, those pictures that show the bona fide marriage or lack there or of cruelty, because those are all evidence you can use to build your case. Okay, so okay, we finally have a question from Instagram. I've been waiting on y'all on Instagram. Tunja says, I recently got married and would like to bring my wife to the United States. What's the fastest way to do it? Congratulations, first of all, for recently getting married. That's exciting. Tunja, there's only one way to do it. You have to file for a immigrant spousal visa. So we call that consular processing. So the first half of that process starts here in the United States. And once that part is approved, then it moves over to consular processing, and then she'll attend her interview in her home country, and then she'll be able to come here. So it is the only option. So there's no fast way versus slow way. This is your only option. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Selder says his status was a permanent resident, but he's not in the custody of ICE for being released from jail today. Oh, absolutely. They can still definitely deport him. Google Joe Giudice when you get off this live to find out why he got deported, similar situation. And that's why I always say to you guys, if you're a green card holder, you should be thinking about, when am I eligible to become a U.S. citizen? And when that happens, you need to do it right away. Let me tell you a little story about Joe Giudice. You can Google him. For those of you who watch Real Housewives, that is my guilty pleasure. I love all Real Housewives franchises, maybe except New York. But anyway, Teresa on Real Housewives of New Jersey, a family of 4, her husband came into the United States at 2 years old. 2 years old. Has been a green card holder since he was 2 years old. What happens? He gets into trouble, serves his time for 4 years in the United States, but he never thought to file for citizenship because it's like, I have a green card. Who cares? I don't need to vote. My wife is a U.S. citizen. My 4 children are citizen. And once he got released, he got deported. And for those of you who know what deportation means, that for him, there's a chance that he may never be able to come back to the United States, so that is somebody in his 40s who has spent his entire life. This is literally the only country he's known, but he got deported. And so that's why it's really important that once you qualify for something, apply for it. Take the next step. So if you qualify to be a green card holder, why is fear holding you back, right? If your spouse is being toxic or treating you cruelly, why is fear holding you back when you have the power in your hands to gain your financial freedom, right? So you got to take steps to elevate you to the next level. I don't know if you guys saw my post today. Today I posted a little story about my own personal life, and my own journey, here in America. because, I know sometimes we attorneys come on here live, and do these lives, and, a lot of you guys might look at us as unicorns or think, oh, they don't know what I'm going through. They don't know my experience. They've never experienced that. So I invite you guys all to go take a look at their comments. You could even tell me your immigrant story right after you read mine. So it is a journey, but for every step of the way, what you qualify for, you need to keep moving till you get to that final destination. And what is the final destination? Becoming a United States citizen. When you're a citizen, your possibilities, or your aspirations is limitless, right? The sky's your limit. There's no limitation. I'm not saying go commit a crime or whatever it is, but if you did commit a crime, you're not going to be deported because you're a U.S. citizen, right? You have the power to vote. You have the power to vote in your local elections, right? In your county elections, in your state elections, on laws and things that affect your life. So you definitely want to try and do that. Okay, I'm down from my pedestal, so let's see what else. Somebody says, Morgan says, my husband is a citizen. June is going to be my 1-year marriage. How long does it take to get biometrics? I'm sorry, I won't be able to answer that question based on when your 1-year marriage is. Honestly, like I mentioned earlier, biometrics is the least of your concerns. So you want to, it depends on when you've petitioned and how long your case has been pending. But if your case, is from October, you are still well within the timeline for processing. It's not above, normal processing time or beyond processing time. You're still within that time. Okay. So Althea says, my husband was verbally abusive, but I never reported him. So I left him. I'm in a different state from him. My marriage was legit. It's 2 years and 4 months now. He's just looking about his citizenship after being here for 45 years. What can I do in this case? Okay. So Althea, my assumption is that your husband is currently a green card holder. So first of all, I want to say that I'm very proud of you for taking that brave step to leave. Many people do not leave their abusers. Many people even file VAWA claims, and still the fear of what would happen if they left, stay with their abusers, even after they've been empowered with their work permit, even if they've been empowered with their green card to leave. So the question for you is going to be, when did you officially get divorced? If your divorce has been more than 2 years, you will not qualify under VAWA. If it's been under 2 years, which I hope for your sake it has been, then you technically could qualify to petition under VAWA and get your own green card by yourself. So what I advise for you to do is call me, 407-995-6567. Let's have a consultation. Let me see what's going on with your case. When you left, more importantly, when was that divorce decree signed? Because that would make the critical difference for you. Okay, so somebody on Instagram, Mo, says, I have a green card. Is it possible for me to sponsor my husband who is living in the States with a work permit, or should I wait till I'm a citizen? So Mo, the answer really depends on what your husband's current status is. A work permit is not a status. Like, is he here? What is given him the work permit here? Like, meaning, is your husband's visa currently active? If his visa is currently active, meaning that he's not overstayed, the visas are current right now. So you can apply for him if that is the case. If his visa upon entry has expired, so you're going to have to do one of two things. One, you can then apply for your citizenship if you're eligible to become a citizen. And then once you get approved for citizenship, have him adjust his status. You can start his process, but you have to wait till you're a citizen to do the adjustment of status process. The second option is to file for his I-130. Once that's approved, request a hardship waiver, which is that 601A waiver I talked about earlier. Once you do that, and he gets approved, then he can go back, to his home country and finish the process once the approval comes in. Okay. Okay, so let's see. So somebody says, "Oh, that's my brother. Love you, XXA, your brother. Hi, Obi. Thanks for tuning in." That's my brother, one of the people that I talk about, on my post today. So go check it out. Um, let's see. Um, Okay, Althea, you're saying that you didn't divorce him. Excellent, excellent. So since you didn't divorce him, definitely call. Let's evaluate your case. I suspect that you may qualify. You may qualify. So call me 407-995-6567. Okay. Um, if my wife is filing for me and 3 children, can she also sponsor my mother? My sister is doing the filing for my mother, but she wants my wife to sponsor her because she doesn't make as much money. So, Hundo on Facebook, the answer to that is depending on how much your wife makes. And for those of you who are a bit confused, his wife technically cannot be the petitioner for his mother because she is not her child, but she can be a joint sponsor because the sister doesn't meet the financial requirement. So now what you want to do is, so your wife is filing for you and 3 children. So that's 4 people plus your wife. That makes 5. And then adding your mom, that's 6. And then if there's anybody else that she claims on her taxes, then you add that person. So what you're going to be looking at is, for a family of 6, what is 125% past the poverty guide of the poverty guideline? Your wife needs to make more than that. If she makes more than that, she'll be able to be a joint sponsor. If she doesn't make more than that, she cannot be a joint sponsor. Okay. Dimitri says, "I'm here. I should tune in." Hi, Dimitri. Okay, so let's see. I've been married for 7 years and still haven't gotten a visa from my husband. And I filed for an I-130 in 2004 and were put in AP, filed an appeal from a false attorney that took my money. I've never heard anything from the appeal. Over a year now. I recently filed again. Okay, Tanya, definitely call me. Your case is I don't want to discuss your personal business on here. So call me 407-995-6567. Let me understand a little bit about what happened in 2014. What's going on now. Okay. So Mento says, "Can you show your phone number on the screen?" Mento, my phone number is literally there on the screen. Look at it scrolling through right there. Can you guys see it? If you can see it, comment there. It's literally right there. Let me see if I can just put a banner real quick so you can see it. So it's here, Mento. You can go ahead and copy it. Oh, my batteries are about to die on my phone. I'm doing YouTube from my phone. So can you see it? I hope you copied it. Someone's going to put in a comment box now. Let me switch over. So hopefully you saw that. Okay, so Honda says she makes over 70K per year. Okay, so just check the calendar. I don't have it offhand. They're just too much in my head. I can't memorize all the numbers. But because I'm on live, I can, I don't want to be rude and go pull it up to tell you what it is. But just type USCIS poverty guidelines and then just cross check. Okay. Althea says, "Thank you so much. I'll call you as soon as you're finished." Awesome, awesome. Okay, guys, let me see. Okay, so I have somebody on Instagram. Says, "I changed my case to VAWA in 2019. I got to prima facie. Second one will expire in 2 months. My work permit expires in February. I reapplied from December 2020. I've not gotten the new work permit. What should I do?" Zanilia on Instagram, I actually just talked about this. If you look on your filing receipt on your work permit, it should tell you that it acts as, an extension while you're waiting. There's a little bit of a delay in work permits right now. There's a little bit of a delay in everything, to be honest, since the pandemic. A lot of things have been, delayed. So hopefully you get that soon, though. Okay, guys, let's see. Any other questions before I jump off? Um, anything else, guys? Well, this was fun. I'm glad that you guys all tuned in, and I will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful and productive week. Bye.